Hey viewers, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
My girlfriend of 6 months spends time with other men. Preface. Everything else in our relationship is going great: sex, intimacy, time together, meeting family, trips. Her friend, male BFF, has been friends with her 8 years. She went to a university since 18 and has not been in a real committed relationship before. I grew up in the ghetto and has held only strong relationships and worked from age 18, did not go to college. Timeline. We meet dancing at a wedding and begin to meet up and have activities together after sharing contact. I begin to date her soon after. Things get more serious. I learn she has a large social and professional circle, consisting of men and women. This is natural for a university alum. I learn of her male BFF. She tells me that she is going to go have brunch with her friend. On the weekend after that brunch we talk about it and she tells me it was her male BFF. And they even enjoyed a drink, alcoholic, together. She lets him pay for the meal. I meet this man at her little brother's b-day party. He is very comfortable around her. Fast forward a bit. She has to travel to New York for her job. They pay for the flight and Airbnb so that she can be a part of a meeting. Fine and dandy. She says she's having dinner with a friend. She tells me that night after when she calls she admits it was a male friend. I don't dive into the topic with her. I assume it was a college friend or someone of that sort who lives in New York. She tells me that she is going to Miami in January. She goes last weekend. She didn't give me details. I only knew this was not work-related. I assumed this was a girls' trip. A girls' trip usually is with girls you are very close with and in your immediate social circle. And that you all are staying together. At least that is my assumption. I found out close to the date that this is actually a sponsored trip by her fellowship she was a part of in college. I also find out that the people she is staying with in this Airbnb are not people she knows personally. The people attending this trip consist of males and females. One of the male attendees actually live in a downtown Miami apartment. When the group would go down to downtown Miami to party and club at night, they were pre-gaming at this Mont's apartment. She gets drunk and high every night she is in Miami with these people and get back at the Airbnb at 4 or even 5 in the morning. When I call her one night, while she is at this apartment, she goes to the balcony to talk with me in peace and quiet. We joked around and she called me bestie. She is drunk and high. A man she met only 2 nights before when this trip started, comes out to the balcony and asks, "Who are you talking to?" She then responds jokingly with, "My bestie." She is inebriated. This man now proceeds to talk to her about, "When I get to our city, I am going to call you, and we can go to the beach or something." I am still on the phone hearing all of this and I politely say goodnight and hang up with her. She gets back home on Monday and I see her Tuesday night. Me and her talk for hours. I am very distraught and hurt and she apologizes and cries on my shoulders. Over the past 2 days of talking, she says she is sorry I feel this way. She says she does not want to lose her friendships because of her relationship. Citing her friends who now are in relationships and don't hang out with people as much. We talk about boundaries. I spoke about how I don't think I should have to tell her that she should not spend one-on-one time with another man. Especially not one she is not 8 years a friend with. I bring up the guy who wants to link up with her when he comes to our city and use it as an example. I ask if she wants to do what he offered. She said she would like to see him when he comes visit, and she said, maybe not the beach. She then says, we can go eat or so. Mathias, that's off the table too. She wants to continue to meet new people. She wants to continue to make new connections. And for the sake of networking that is good. But I don't want her meeting new men for recreation. And it bothered me when she spent one-on-one time with any men at all. At least because of my perspective as a man and what I've done as the guy friend. I am lost and would please appreciate some guidance on what I should do with this relationship. I admit I am insecure and a bit hurt. But I have self-esteem and am not afraid to let someone go if I don't feel comfortable. I've never cheated in my life and would not even fathom hanging out with old female friends who now spend no time with since I've been in a relationship with her. Please help, guys. My girlfriend kissed a girl at a bar while we were exclusive. Like I said, this happened about a month into us talking and going on dates, but we weren't in a committed relationship yet. However, we did both agree to being exclusive. She was very drunk and I came in from outside the bar to see her dancing with a girl who tried to kiss me earlier that I turned away. I just knew if I stood there for 10 seconds I would see them kiss, and lo and behold it happened. I was very upset, and confronted her just seconds after it happened. We then spent the rest of the night crying, and she was extremely upset with herself. She apologized profusely and said that she didn't even want to kiss her, she was just drunken in the moment and the girl went in for it. I could tell she was genuinely sorry, and after a month of us still talking we became official last night. She hasn't given me any other reasons to not trust her, but she does like to go out on weekends. Mind you, I could easily just go with her on these outings, and for many of them I do. However, sometimes I am busy or have other plans, and I am struggling with how I am going to fully trust her in these situations where she goes out without me. I have never imagined myself as the insecure boyfriend who doesn't let his girlfriend go out without him, but ever since that situation I have been uneasy. She has told me she won't get anywhere near that drunk again in a bar, but that just makes me feel so uncomfortable. I am of the opinion that being drunk makes you act more like who you truly are, not someone you aren't. She is acting like if she gets that drunk anything can happen to her without her even realizing it, and it's not as if she was blackout drunk or anything. Anyway, what do I do? I guess at the end of the day all I can do is trust her and let her go out without me, but what are some fair boundaries I could impose without being a complete controlling dick? Am I being too much? Never thought I'd fall in love with a single mom, but here I am. I, 31, went to visit my brother and his girlfriend in the country I'm from, halfway across the world, some 6,000 miles away. My brother's girlfriend's best friend, 32F, was also there. She, the BF, and I had unbelievable chemistry, and despite only knowing each other for 2 days, hooked up the night before she was leaving. Neither she nor I are known for doing this kind of thing. Again, the chemistry was evident. I took her to the train station the next morning because she was leaving to go home. We didn't say all that much, but the looks exchanged and the goodbyes were so heartfelt, I knew I felt something well beyond, I'm gonna miss that big butt. I couldn't stop thinking about her as night counted down, or as the days progressed. As we talked and messaged over the next few days, it crystallized that we yearned for each other equally. I had already intended on traveling around the country before returning home. After visiting my hometown, I booked a train to where she lives with her son, a non-trivial distance both from my hometown and the city my brother lives in where I'd be flying home from. The feeling of traveling there was indescribable, and I couldn't have been more excited to see her again. I had butterflies in my stomach for the first time since. I don't know, I can't even remember. We didn't want to make out and be all obvious in front of her son, and I enjoyed hanging out with the two of them so much as they showed me their city. The kid is adorable, energetic, intelligent, and funny. The two of us got along very well, too. She says he likes me a lot, thinks I'm sweet, and asks about me still. I have no doubt that I love this woman from the depths of my heart, and if she didn't have a son, I might have told her to leave everything behind and move to California so we could be together forever. Of course the intimacy is great and I love the feeling of her skin on mine, but I can't stop thinking about the hours we spent just gazing into each other's eyes. Typing it out makes it sound so cheesy. Who am I? I have met and connected with single moms before, but it always freaked me out that they had a child. It made being together unimaginable. With her, all I want is for us two to be partners, and if I have to take some responsibility for this amazing kid in order to be with her, I will. I can't stand being without her. Have I lost my mind? What is going on? How do I make a decision on adding two people to my life based on what I know about this woman and her son after a few days of being together? My friend is mad that I didn't tell him that his fiancée and I were a thing 10 years ago. The thing was 10 years ago, but this happened last year around March when I went home for a visit. Background. So I, 29M, had just transferred to this HS during junior year. I only knew my cousin and some friends on football team. It wasn't until summer after graduation that I was told that there were a couple of girls who were interested in me but didn't, I guess, have the courage to talk to me during the school year. The fiancé was one of them. Side note, I'm not that handsome, but I do wash regularly, dress nicely, and according to my dad, big boys are always in season. I'm 6 feet 3,265 pounds at the time, so I should expect this happening more frequently. Now I have issues and I decided to take advantage of my college's free counseling department and I started therapy. I became friends with some of the individuals who also going to therapy as well, and we bonded over our issues a little bit. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I got trauma from my parents. Mine was, I'm autistic and I'm trying to learn some coping mechanisms cause the ones I made as a kid are not working now as an adult. Insert Emily, 27F, the fiancé. We got to talking, realized we went to the same school, and hung out a few times. She said her therapist is telling her to try new things to the adjustment to college life, as my mind told me. She suggested we try things together, and I guess you can guess what we did, together. It only lasted 2 or 3 months, but it got real intense real fast. My counselor specifically and very intensely told me that it is not what he meant, lol, a little too late for that doc, and I should probably cut it off cause we're probably doing more bad than good. We end it. Now just FB friends. Current issue. My friend, more like friend of a friend, Sean, 27M, and I are hanging out. He tells me about this girl he's been seeing for like 4 years and he's finally popped the question. I gave him the obvious, bro, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, and then he described her. I'm like, the universe won't do me like that and not like this. Then he says her name and he describes a birthmark, yes, weird, which confirms. So now I'm just like, I have to say something, but I did tell him about the things we did together cause we were still in contact and the descriptions were really graphic. So if I tell him that it's the girl he's already popped the question to, my fear is that it's gonna be on site. Yes, it's irrational, but I'm sweating bullets at this point. In any case, I forget cause I was so in a daze and I just barely continued the conversation and say nothing. Fast forward to the new year, 2023 horror. I get a message from one of our mutual high school friends, Joe, 28M, that I'm still actually pretty good friends with, who tells me that I better watch out cause Sean knows, thinks we were together behind his back, and now it's in sight. I haven't heard from either him or Emily at this point, but I know it's coming. I feel guilty for keeping quiet. I have OCD and I'm having intrusive thoughts about my girlfriend's past sexual encounters. Just want to clarify up front that these are not feelings of anger towards my girlfriend or anything like that. Her past is her own business, has nothing to do with me, and she's done nothing wrong. I was diagnosed with OCD back in high school and my obsessions, intrusive thoughts have been primarily sexually themed. It's gotten much better over the years, although my last relationship of 2+ years ended up being negatively affected by these kinds of thoughts and compulsions I was performing. Anyway, I started dating this new girl several months ago and things have been going well. She's ridiculously attractive and has a very fun, free-spirited personality, so I'm not surprised that she'd have a colorful sexual past. Totally fine with me, I like the idea of a girl being more experienced anyway. Recently we were having a casual conversation about secrets and stuff and she randomly told me, I didn't ask her, about how she had a foursome with 3 men a few years ago while she was studying abroad. It was a bit shocking, jarring to hear at first, but I kind of just brushed it off because, why should I care? However, a couple days later I started having intrusive thoughts relating to her having sex with other men, particularly in this foursome situation. I obviously do not want to think about it, but it keeps repeating in my head, multiple times a day. The images have gotten very vivid, graphic, almost violent at times, like some movie I feel like I have to replay in my head. I can't focus well at work and they've caused me to randomly start crying at times. These thoughts are very upsetting and I feel ashamed, like I'm a pervert or something. I did tell her about my OCD but nothing too specific, so she has no idea I'm having these thoughts about her. I do not want to tell her as I don't think she fully gets OCD and would probably be disgusted with me and then feel shame about her past, which I don't want. Also, for anyone familiar with OCD, confessing can easily turn into a compulsion. I'm just struggling with what to do because it's a very isolating feeling, and I can already feel myself growing distant from her, feeling detached around her, not wanting to text her for fear of the thoughts being triggered. This is definitely the happiest I've felt with any girl and I don't want to ruin it. I have been to therapy before and I know how to deal with intrusive thoughts, but it's been overwhelming lately. Maybe I should talk to someone again. I'm basically posting here to ask if anyone has experienced a similar situation or would have any thoughts on what they'd want their partner to do if they were struggling with this. Thank you. I need to work with my ex. How to cope with this? We were in a relationship for 2 months. It all started at one party where we spent whole night next to each other. After that, we went for a coffee and we kissed. Before that, we never even talked that much. First date, second date. Third day, she invited me at her place to watch a movie. Since that day, for the next 2 months, I spent almost every evening and night at her place, whole weekends. Practically living together. I thought she really cared for me. At first, she showed signs that she cared, even showed some jealousy. She talked openly about many things, her life, but never about us. Also, she hid this whole thing from everyone. I understand hiding from coworkers, since she always talked against work romance, but from friends, I don't know. It bothered me to go out with few other coworkers, her friends. She added me to this group because I had to keep hiding everything. One time, we started fighting over something and she told me that she expects me to be open about everything. I told her that I really care for her and that I really want to try and give this relationship a chance. I'm not into adventure. Then she went on holiday vacation to her hometown. Day before leaving, she was never better with me. Relaxed, kissed me more than even, showed that she cared, planned trip with me. Then, few days after, she doesn't want to call in few days, she doesn't want to meet once for 2 hours in a month less than an hour away. I told her that I feel like she is only using me for fun and to kill time after work. We exchanged few long texts, and she told me she would call me next morning to discuss everything. Next morning, she sent me that she didn't forget but she is crazy busy. Okay. Few days passed, still no call. Then I sent her a text about some personal issue we had, and then she called. Anyway, we actually broke up nicely over phone. She told me that she looked me only as a friend, that she isn't into relationship, she had a long relationship that ended badly 2 years ago, and since then, only had few short relationships, and that she want us to stay friends since she really doesn't want to lose me as a friend since I really showed her trust and that I care for her. I really did cared for her and everything to her. Next day, I found out that the date she turned cold, she met some other guy and went on a few dates with him. I then attacked her and told her that if she didn't met this guy, she would probably return to me, until she found another one. She only responded something like, "Because of your ego, you forgot 2 months we spent together," and that she is now sure she made the right choice. I deleted her on social media after that since she kept posting stories with this new guy and ended conversation. I started to heal and now she started working again. I only talked to her and told me to bring me my stuff back I left at her place. And she did that, in 2 days. I tried to avoid her but it's hard. And I have no idea what will she tell our group of friends. Well, she is way better with them than I'm, but I also started hanging out with them. I feel like she won't tell them the whole story and that is hurting me even more. What is her problem? Narcissistic person or maybe not? What can I do? Should I try to ignore all contact? I really like this job and don't want to lose it. Girlfriend friends with a couple she had a threesome with. I, 28M, and my girlfriend, 26F, have been dating for about 6 months. In the first part of our relationship, when it was still non-committal, non-exclusive, she told me that she had been in a threesome with her best friend, 27F, and her best friend's husband, 27M, about 2 years ago, where she didn't do anything besides make out with the husband, but he did watch his wife go down on her. At first, it didn't bother me since I wasn't in a relationship with her and found it hot that she had been willing to explore that kind of stuff. But now that we have moved into more of a relationship, it is bugging me a lot. There are a few emotions that I would use to describe it. Firstly, there is jealousy towards the husband, that he was involved in sexual intimacy with my girlfriend that I will never experience with her, and disgust at the thought of him seeing her naked and watching her engage in a sexual act. And just a general sense of unease at the idea of having to spend time with this couple, knowing that realistically, this guy has probably got the image of the two women burned into his brain as something he is always going to remember. It feels like I am basically being told one of her close guy friends is someone she hooked up with in the past, but did kinky shit with him she won't do with me. I don't want to break up with her over it, but at the same time, I struggle with the anxiety and other emotions that pop up almost constantly because I can't get them out of my head anymore. I think there are some insecurities there as well in this. It bothers me that if we stay as a couple, I will be hanging out in a group of 3, knowing that each of them has seen the others naked and engaging in sexual activities together. I hate the idea of spending time with a guy that has seen her naked and doing things that I will never experience, and are a once-in-a-lifetime thing with my girlfriend, considering she has told me it's something she wouldn't do again. It just feels like he has a piece of sexual intimacy with her that I will never be able to have, and if we end up going to marriage, I don't want to be reminded that she's shared a unique sexual intimacy with a guy that I need to be around. I'm very conflicted about what to do. Is this something I can get over, and how do I get over it? Or should I recognize that this will always bother me and end the relationship before I get hurt more?